Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to be there with you today in order to have a 25 minutes discussion around an API product board that I have designed for the product owners, product managers that are willing to um, manage API products. So that talk will be mostly focused using Miro product board. I propose to start quickly with the objective. So as I just said, it is intended for product manager and product owners. And usually from my own experience, there are some challenges very specific to API products that I have tried to figure out on that board. The intent is to help people to accelerate on the API product adoption, and as a consequence, to increase the API value given for both producers and consumers. So we will go through market practices and as well personal experience, having some examples to illustrate the different concepts. Who am I? I am Antonin Lemblé. I'm part of Braincube. It's a French company dealing with, which is a software editor for Industry 4.0. I am senior product manager, product owner. I am IT engineer. I have 4 years plus specific experience on the APIs and 20 years on IT. I'm an agilist as well. So let's have a quick look on that board. That board is here at the center. What I propose you first, so I've used a very common template, which is provided by Roman Pitchler. And what I would like to discuss with you first is about the vision. When we are discussing about APIs, in fact, and system-to-system services, there are a challenge always about the vision of the product. So in a nutshell, I believe that if we look at the reason of the creation of an API product, there are three main kind of possibilities. The first one is to accelerate the business, increase the business, accelerate. Second one is to improve or to test new businesses, I would say. And the last one is to maybe transform an existing business in another one. That's fine. Having said so, in fact, I used to take one example, which is quite famous. Back 2002, someone proposed that vision, and I will read it with you right now. All teams will expose their data and functionalities through service interfaces. Teams must communicate with each other through these interfaces. There will be no other form of inter-process communication allowed, no direct linking, no direct reads of another team data stores. It doesn't matter what technology they use. All service interfaces, without exception, must be designed from the ground up to be externalizable. So for the ones that are common with the Bezos mandate, they know that I was talking about the Jeff Bezos' vision for Amazon back in 2002, sorry. So here it is, from my standpoint, a kind of master class of a vision for system-to-system services that could be handled by APIs. But APIs at the end is something that is very technical. So when we are talking about products and APIs, time to time, it could be confusing. So I propose to have a quick look on that. In fact, I believe that when we discuss about API and products, there is two kinds of things. There is API as a product, and there is APIs as part of a product. If we go a little below on the board, in fact, I would say that at the beginning, API are not much a product. This is just a technical artifact, could be used for ad hoc integration, used for dedicated usages, integration with your clients or with your providers that have a very specific need and they need to consume data or automate actions on your applications, your backend. So you will design specifically a technical artifact. That's fine, but it is not scalable. It is difficult to grow the value of that artifact. So here, there is the second concept, which is API as a product features, meaning it's part of a larger product, and to enhance usability or customer journey, we will propose through the solution some API services that could be integrated and provide value. The last one is what we call API as a product. So here we are referring to self-sufficient third-party services. From my standpoint, it could be considered as a SaaS, but headless, without human interface. It is exactly the same approach, but totally headless. That's fine. So for API as product, I believe that mapping services could be a good example, because you are buying the usage for the display of a map, maybe the service for routing from a point A to a point B, for the geocoding of an address to a point on the map, etc., etc. And these services are payable. So API as product, one example, mapping. Knowing what is an API product, it is important as well from a product manager perspective to consider as well the product organization that will support your initiative. So I used to refer to that slide coming from Gartner, that is no more than a ladder of maturity of products organization. The first one is that first dimension, the organization that is supporting your product is mostly instinct driven. There is no formal product management approach. The second dimension is this is requirement driven. Your customer asking you some features, and you are developing that features or that solution as per the customer expectation. And as a product manager, you will organize that delivery. The third one that is, from my standpoint, a little bit more interesting is customer experience driven. So now we start to consider the goals of the product, a roadmap, and this is articulated through user story, customer experience definition. So it's more collaborative. The fourth one is what they said, market driven. So here the stakeholders are aligned around the vision to capture market opportunities. And guess what? It needs to be data analytics driven. The last one is the strategy driven dimension. So here there are some macro strategic priorities, and the products that is delivered needs to be in sync with that company strategy. So when we are going back to API as products, I believe that it could be delivered only on mature organization, and I reference the dimension 4 and the dimension 5 here. Mostly as APIs products or API as a products are services headless, the value given will be measurable through metrics and only through metrics, So that's why I believe so. The second thing is that data analytics needs to be shaped, as per the service goals and the value objective of your products. So there is no, magic metrics for API as product. It has to be designed as per the expectations. So if I continue then, the product managers, when saying that he has understood what is an API product that is delivering in a mature product organization, he needs an API team. And again, the maturity of the API team that will deliver the API services differs depending on the organizations. So basic stuff, to deliver API as technical artifact, product owners, solution architect, API dev, API ops that will operate the service. That's fine. But if you want to shift to an API product, I believe you need a product manager with the vision where he would like to go with the product and what value needs to be leveraged. A UX UI team, it is very key to, and we will see just after the developer experience importance. We need as well a digital marketing team and sales team as well. It is a product, so it has to be, there is I believe, a sales plan around that product and legal as well. So to have an API product, you need a mature API team. The last thing to consider for the product manager, product owners that is dealing with API product is the API product lifecycle. So it is, it is a very common representation of a product lifecycle. And I just focus on few things, is that if you look at the development of the service, if you would like to have the maximum scalability, it will be required to have a good understanding of generic services that could solve problem of multiple potential consumers. So around the value, I believe that there might be iteration on the thinking, and that will be part of the development. As well, during the growth phase, as I said just before, the understanding of the usages is very key. And again, as it is service to service, system to system services, it will be needed to have some metrics around who is using the service, when it is used, and how it is used. How often, mostly. For the part of the life cycle around the maturity and eventually the saturation, here we are talking mostly about the value management, meaning is it worth to, is it the value objective are achieved or not? And maybe it will be again the time to iterate on the value proposition of the product. And the last one, and it is very important for people that are dealing with API product, is the decline phase. Because if, as it is a silent services, it could be running for decades if you don't manage it. So the point here is that it is important to grow the offers through API catalog. It will be as well important to have a lean catalog providing just the right services. Okay, so this is for the product part of the product board, main consideration. That's fine, but at some point, a product is something that is required, that is targeted for some users. Who are the users of the API products? In fact, there are two kinds of users. The developers, obviously, that will implement and integrate the service into their own application, and the product managers, because if you are using a service, there is an opportunity of using that service, So I propose to focus here just on the developers because I believe it is very important. And that's where UX and UI team are interfering on the product development. The first one is that there is no one developer, but there are multiple kinds of developers. And that's why developer personas needs to be studied. There are different skills, different experience, maybe appetency, maybe team setup. Time to time, it will be a standalone developer. Time to time, it will be teams of developers. So the expectation can differ, And especially about the context, the way to develop the app and to integrate the APIs into that apps. And as well, there are some IT contexts specific to some customers and norms that should be considered as well. Data format of the data that will be reachable thanks to the API services you provide. Times to times, There are some standards, and it's very important to use it. Maybe as well providing SD key, There are teams that are prefer to use with SD key, others directly with the API itself. So when we are looking at the different areas of a persona, the what do I want, why I do it, what convinced me, and where I am. I propose to focus on the where I am side because it is, from my standpoint, very important as per my experience. In fact, you have an API product, but this API product could be for inner usage to the enterprise that's providing the API. It will be at the end still customers using that your APIs, they might not be paid for the usage, but the expectation should be, at the same level than external consumers, reliability, quality, etc. So depending on the context of the usage of the APIs, you might face some internal consumers, maybe clients or partners, maybe external unknown customers, for public APIs. So depending on that kind of profile, the developer journey could differ slightly, and that's why it's important to know the intent of your service first. Maybe it could be a mix of all that context as well. So we discuss about developer persona, but what are the needs around that people? Obviously, if you want your API to generate value, you will consider the discovery of your product, the market fit, probably the experience, and possibly the usual question for a product manager that would like to integrate a third service, the make or buy. Should I integrate the external service or should I develop it by myself? So looking at the needs, I will do just a focus here on the developer experience because for me, it's absolutely key. It is, maybe one of the most important things of that board to consider. So again, UX UI team, when they have identified the personas, they will shift that personas or map the personas as per an experience. If we look at GitHub, what they said is that the developer experience definition is no more than the developer productivity plus developer impact plus developer satisfaction. And you multiply that by the number of people that will use it. If we focus on API specifically, the way to discover the API is usually the developer portal, where your API catalog is published. It could be a meta developer portal. There are some websites that are referencing multiple kinds of APIs, but to be careful here because the discoverability is increased, but the experience is standardized and not necessarily as per persona, just referring to what I have mentioned. So the developer portal, when we discuss about the developer experience, obviously we will look at the developer journey, how it is from the discovery of the API to the test to the integration and production of the API. Obviously, it will need a product catalog, which is sufficiently an offer of service, I would say, that is self-sufficient. And the last one, which is absolutely key as well, is the operational excellence. You need the description of the service that you will propose needs to be refined at the maximum, meaning having a clear functional documentation, having a technical contract that is delivering as per the promise. If with the specification, with example, with return codes, well-defined, etc., etc. The thing is that if it is not well described or well not documented, or if the behavior of the API is not as per the contract, the quality will be, the feeling of the quality will be very bad, and probably the developer will move to another kind of services. the same kind of services, but on other companies. So that's fine. But we said the developer experience is important, but it has to be measured at some point. We want to measure everything. So that's where the metrics come into the picture. There is one that I really like for the developer experience. It is very difficult to measure the developer experience. So time to first call or time to first hello world is no more than the duration between the first successful API call and the subscription of the API. You measure that duration, you identify the trend, and if the trend is decreasing, meaning if the duration is going lower and lower, it is a good sign, because that means it's fluent for developer to discover, use, test, and use your APIs product. The second metric, which is important here, mostly as well for the experience, but for the value of the product itself, is the growth of active subscribers. The more subscribers there will be on your APIs, and we can expect the better is the experience and the better is the value provided. One metric that I don't use to take much care about is the number of calls, because depending on the API service given, number of calls could be a false friend. If you have an API that permits to log files into an external system, like Splunk, let's say, logging, it could be tons of calls. And if you have an API that is just taking orders, then you will have much less calls, but the value of each call which will be much more important. Just fun facts, we are using a Miro board, and Miro has been awarded by Pronovix this year for their own developer portal. Within Miro, you can add apps integrated to enhance the features. So there are APIs to do so, and the developer portal of Miro has been awarded. So just a wink here. So taking care about the time, there is a last thing which is very important to consider. This is the business goals. In fact, when you are a product manager or product owner, you are managing products. Your goal is to maximize the value of your products. And at the end, it's referred to dollars, to revenue. So there is two ways to measure the revenue next to an API product usage. Obviously, there is the increasing of the revenue, but it could be as well the reduce of the cost. Knowing that revenue is no more than, benefit is no more than revenue minus the investment. So the sponsor, the people that are funding your product, are willing to have some clear vision on the that areas of value. So increase revenue, there is two ways to increase the revenue. The famous direct monetization, which is in fact increasing new revenue stream or generating new direct revenue stream. Again, there are some mapping solutions that are selling the usage. So here we are talking about API as a product, but it could be as well. So it is for mature product only. The thing is that don't expect to sell products if the service is not premium. If you look at here, Google is famous on mapping. OpenAI for IA conversational, very famous. So they are selling. This is brands that are well known, and they are selling premium services, and it is their cost model. But for the most, I believe API products, there is one way to valorize it in a great way, which is what we call indirect monetization. It's more for B2B2C from my standpoint. So here, the intent is to expand an existing business, meaning increase others' revenue. You remember just before I was talking about API as part of a product. I believe that in such case, it will be indirect monetization. Thanks to the API features that are available in Miro, maybe there will be more adoptions of Miro, and Miro will sell more licenses. So this is the example here. So it will provide a competitive advantage, maybe increase the customer knowledge, and a good one for the producer, it could lock the customer on a product. If you spend time to integrate your product to another one using the APIs, then you will think twice before moving to another integration. If it's done the job, why change? So again, I have referred here to Miro Developer Platform. And one fun fact, it is Alexa. At my home, I used to have, Philips Hue lightning system. And when the battery of my detectors are very low, there is an API, I don't know how by which magic, but at the end, Amazon sent me a message saying, hey, your battery is almost dead, so I propose you to buy a new one. Again, this is indirect monetization thanks to partenariat between two brands. Okay, last one, cost efficiency. So here, this is more for enterprise architects that are looking for that and maybe operation of a company. So here, the idea is to increase the global benefits by reducing the cost of usage. So it is more related to standardization and reusability of services. So it will permit to avoid, multiplying integration by focusing on standard services internally to the company. It will permit as well to reduce the complexity of a catalog, minimizing the number of services given system to system, reducing the complexity, permit as well adaptability and scalability of the usage. The more standardized your interface will be between your systems, the more it will be possible to scale, and maybe as well improve the security thanks to governance. Okay, so just have a look on few takeaway here. As a product manager or a product owner, first, my recommendation will take a look at your organization. Be sure that it is enough mature for you to be enabled on your API product approach. Else you will spend time and effort and it might be worthless. So as a product manager, maybe you can help your organization to grow their mind, their culture on API as product. Example, running a hackathon with the people, with the developer of your company, and proposing them to create new kind of service thanks to an API catalog. The second thing, which is very, very key, is the formalization of the value objective of your API products. Why are you investing on that product? What would you like to achieve? We discuss about direct and indirect monetization. We discuss about reduction of cost thanks to the usage of the APIs. It is important to formalize it and to maybe give some objectives. It will permit you to see if you achieve or not that objective, and maybe then to, thanks to that measurement of the value generation across the product lifecycle, to scale your API product, or maybe it is worthless to continue to invest on that product and then to pivot to another one. Okay, so I would like to thank you for hearing me till that point. Again, I am Antonin Lemblé. You can find me on LinkedIn. And if there are some people that are thinking that that dashboard might be useful for them, you can use it thanks to that QR code. And I will be pleased to discuss with you as well if you have some feedbacks or expectations in terms of details that I have not covered on the API product management. Thank you.